We will go ahead and get started. A copy of the Open Meetings Act is located on the table outside as well as on our website. There is also an automatic external defibrillator that's available on the back wall of the legislative chambers. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we're going to start, Dan, with the Board of Commissioners and do the two recognition and proclamations, and then we'll go back to the order. So with that, can we have a roll call for Board of Commissioners?
Commissioner Boyle. Here. Commissioner Kavanaugh is absent. Commissioner Friend.
Here.
Commissioner Garcia.
Here.
Commissioner Morgan.
Here.
Commissioner Rogers. Here. Madam Chair.
Present. So the first resolution is recognizing October as Youth Justice Awareness Month, and I'll read that resolution. Whereas the historical role of the juvenile court system is to rehabilitate youth while holding them accountable and maintaining public safety, and it is therefore better equipped to work with youth than the punitive nature of the adult criminal justice system. And whereas youth are distinct from adults, and these differences have been documented by national research on the adult brain development and acknowledged by the U.S. and state Supreme Courts, including but not limited to state and federal laws that prohibit youth under the age of 19 from taking on the major adult responsibilities such as voting, jury duty, and military service. And whereas youth of color and youth with disabilities, mental and behavioral health issues are disproportionately represented in the criminal and juvenile justice system. And whereas youth who are in the juvenile court system must be able to access age-appropriate services and education while remaining closer to their families and communities, all of which national research indicates reduces the likelihood of future offending. And whereas most laws allowing for the prosecution of youth as adults were enacted prior to the research study completed by the Centers for Disease Control and the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, which showed that prosecuting youth in adult court actually decreases public safety, and those youth are 34% more likely to commit future crimes than youth prosecuted in the juvenile system. And whereas youth detained or involved in the juvenile or criminal justice system should be kept in the least restrictive setting possible, with family inclusion and treatment-oriented services provided. And whereas Douglas County has demonstrated a commitment to strengthening care for juveniles by partnering with the public and private sectors to create effective alternatives to detention and to develop a continuum of community and family-based services designed to serve youth and their families safely. And whereas it is our shared responsibility to ensure that all youth in Douglas County can reach their full potential. And whereas the month of October has been declared National Youth Justice Awareness Month, now therefore be it resolved by this Board of County Commissioners, Douglas County, Nebraska, that this board hereby declares the month of October 2023 as Youth Justice Awareness Month in Douglas County. And this board encourages all residents of Douglas County to consider how they can engage in positive actions that can assist our youth to reach their full potential. Dated this third day of October 2023. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Boyle. Anyone wishing to make any comments at this time? Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Juliette Summers. I'm the Executive Director of Voices for Children in Nebraska. Voices for Children, as you may know, has a 36-year history of advocating for equitable opportunity for children in our state. And we do that through research, policy, and community engagement. We envision a Nebraska with strong communities where every child has all they need to lead a healthy, secure, and fulfilling life. And youth justice has been a pillar of our advocacy work since the very beginning of our organization. To accomplish our mission, we know that every kid in our state must have access to a justice system that's set up to achieve accountability, but through developmentally appropriate ways that will promote rehabilitation and community safety. I'm here today at the start of Youth Justice Awareness Month to voice my support for the resolution and my hopeful gratitude to the board for adopting it. But also to say thank you for all your hard work over the years to move youth justice forward in Douglas County and to bring a new and better era for youth who are facing our juvenile and criminal justice systems here. When I first started at Voices for Children in 2014, I was fresh from the Douglas County Public Defender's Office as a juvenile public defender. And there were over 1,200 youth committed to Douglas County Youth Center over the course of that year, 2014. And through the efforts of this community here in Omaha, that number has dropped in 2021, the latest annual year that we have for the data, to just 467 youth admitted to DCYC over the course of that year. So that's over 800 children from 2014 to 2021 who found alternatives to incarceration, a better developmental approach for them. Simultaneously, we've seen a similar trend in our youth arrests. So though arrests did increase slightly in 2021 over 2020, and in 2022 over 2021, we are actually still seeing much lower numbers of youth arrested in Douglas County than before the pandemic, and certainly much lower than in prior decades. So that's even as we know today our youth are facing mental health, education, and other challenges in the wake of the pandemic. So I know over the last couple of years you have been hearing a lot about detention beds, and maybe lately as well. But I thought I would just take this opportunity to really highlight how far we have already come as a community for our kids, and to say that we know we haven't gotten it all right yet. In particular, our system needs to address disproportionality and how many more Black and Brown students in our community are experiencing the harshest parts of our system. So we know we have to push farther, and we know that we need more investments in families, education, community resources. There will always be more to be done to provide better options for our youth, but in celebration today and in the month of October, this is a real opportunity to say thank you to the City of Omaha, to the Douglas County, and to all of the care workers, mentors, teachers, trackers, therapists, and commissioners who have really stepped up to try to do better for our county's children. So thank you for your time. If you're interested in the data, I did bring a couple charts with me. I'm always happy to be a resource and answer any questions, but I just wanted to say thank you today.
Thank you, Julia. Anyone else wishing to speak during this resolution?
Excuse me. Larry Storr, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha 68132. I'm not opposed to the basic resolution, nor the work that these good people do. But I'd like to point out that I'm against the resolution. I would like to see some wording changes. Specifically, let's put less reliance on national associations, more on local people, local experts. They know our kids best. And secondly, the wording again, disproportionately represented. I resent that, because that implies that somebody consciously is incarcerating or detaining and interviewing and releasing kids disproportionately. So we ought to know who's doing that and maybe relieve them of their duties. So change the wording, remove that 2 words, and leave the rest of the resolution as it is. But emphasize more responsibility and more guidance from the local agencies that we are funding to help solve these problems that aren't apparently as successful as we'd like them to be, because there was another shooting in Omaha yesterday. A 14-year-old, after hours club, and on the local news, there were some comments that even from the Black community, that things aren't working like they ought to be. So we need to have a better discussion and more input from the local people responsible for these programs and things that we can rely on instead of people outside of the country or the nation, the state, that don't necessarily know our kids nor our people. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this resolution? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
The next resolution, this is where I'll ask all of the folks in the audience from our Juvenile Assessment Center to please come and stand around the podium. This is a resolution recognizing the Douglas County Juvenile Assessment Center 20-year anniversary in providing services for youth and families. And Commissioner Rogers is going to read this resolution.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. Whereas in 2003, the Douglas County Juvenile Assessment Center has performed, since 2003, the Douglas County Juvenile Assessment Center has performed a crucial role in the Douglas County juvenile justice system by diverting all eligible youth from formal processing and recommending and implementing interventions to prevent further law violations and enhancing the productive growth of young citizens. And whereas the JAC ensures quality services to youth and families by striving to meet evidence-based guidelines put forth by national experts such as the National Assessment Center Association, the RFK Community Alliance, Georgetown Center for Juvenile Justice Reform, and the National Youth Screening and Assessment Partners. And whereas under Nebraska statute, the Douglas County Attorney's Office is to receive all law violations and status referrals for youth between the age of 11 and 18, and to make decisions as to whether a youth is eligible for diversionary services, which it does by referring youth to the JAC for assessment, approving recommendations as to a diversionary plan, which is then implemented and completed by the JAC. And whereas in February of 2020, an independent evaluation found that the JAC is a good financial investment, saving the system and taxpayers between $1.4 and $4.5 million annually by diverting youth from formal processing. And whereas to date, the JAC has served nearly 28,000 youth in Douglas County. Whereas October 3rd is the 20th anniversary of the Douglas County Juvenile Assessment Center providing services for youth and families. Now therefore be resolved by this Board of Douglas County Commissioners that is hereby recognized the 20-year anniversary of the Douglas County Juvenile Assessment Center and further recognize the dedication of the staff and the engagement of all community stakeholders in meeting the needs of Douglas County youth and families. And I move to approve.
There's a motion by Commissioner Rogers, seconded by Commissioner Boyle. Any comments at this time on this resolution?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wasn't on the board then. I was working in the mayor's office from the initial ribbon cutting at 42nd Street and Center that day in 2003. And have seen evolution in a lot of ways. And I'd like to thank you all for the service and how you continually respond to the growing needs. That definitely situations are more than they were 20 years ago, and hope that you take this resolution and the recent investment as confidence in the work that you're doing and the expectations of great things to come. Thank you all.
Commissioner Boyle.
Just a couple quick things. First is, of course, this program did good things like save the county money and provided programs for kids. But I want you each to think of an individual person and that you've been involved with and how you probably have changed someone's life. And I think what it really boils down to is it can be, we value what you do because think of the impact that you had on an individual. And you changed the course of their life, and probably that's the greatest thing that you have done. So we are here to recognize you and the work that you've done and let you know that we see the value in that. But same with those individuals that you've changed the course of where they are today. So thanks for that. It's an incredible gift you've given someone, and we are recognizing you and we praise you for that today.
And I would just like to echo what both Commissioner Rogers and Commissioner Boyle have said. I was here when we first started the JAC, and, it was new territory for us. And you all have shown over the years exactly what Commissioner Boyle's talking about, and that is changing the lives of the individual children that we're serving, but also their families. And that's huge. And I know with a lot of the negativity that is constantly out there in the community about our juveniles and our juvenile system and what we're doing or what we're not doing, you guys have held fast, steadfast at your jobs and done the important work that needs to be done. And today is your day to be recognized for your excellence and your dedication to our children and to our families in Douglas County. So we thank you. And with that, anyone else want to say anything?
could I say
Go ahead.
Sean Johnson, Director of the Juvenile Assessment Center. I want to acknowledge we are missing a team member today. Deshaun Lynch had a death in the family, and we send our condolences to him and his family. And I just want to thank the Board of Commissioners on behalf of the JAC team for your steadfast commitment to the work that we do. And as you pointed out, this is the heart and the soul. It's beyond work, it's a mission, and the folks here are the heart of the JAC. And thank you for your commitment to empowering this team to serve youth and families in the future. Thank you.
And you might mention, Sean, the celebration that we're going to have at noon today?
We have invited stakeholders. It's going to be a packed house. We are very excited at noon today for all of you to join us as we really formally recognize and celebrate the great, great mission that all these folks do. Thanks.
With that, please vote. And then if we could, I think afterwards, Marcos, could you maybe get a picture? We'll just stand back here since there's so many of you, and you can come up in front of the podium here and stand, but please vote first.
Motion passes 7-0.
So I have to be able to see everyone's, as long as you can see the camera lens, then you'll be in the photo, so. Yep. Okay, here we go. I think I can get everybody. Can we pinch in just a little bit? Is there any way we can do that? Otherwise, I'm gonna try this. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, a couple more. Keep your eyes open. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll see you guys at noon. And as long as we're at the recognitions, I'm going to go ahead and do the 2 employee recognitions. They aren't with us this morning, but we are recognizing Sherry Peterson, who worked in the Douglas County Clerk's Office, or Clerk of the District Court's Office for 31 years, and recognizing County employee Mary Early, who worked for the Douglas County Department of Corrections for 16 years. On behalf of the board, we wish them happy retirement, thank them for their dedication to Douglas County and to their respective offices. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, seconded by Commissioner Morgan. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
And now if I could have a motion to recess out of the Board of Commissioners and enter into the Douglas County Board of Equalization. Motion by Commissioner Morgan, seconded by Commissioner Rogers. Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
And could you please call roll for the Board of Equalization?
Yes, Commissioner Boyle. Commissioner Kavanaugh. Commissioner Friend. Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Morgan. Commissioner Rogers. Madam Chair.
Present. Item A, approval of the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held Tuesday, September 26, 2023. And item B, call for a meeting and set Tuesday, October 17, 2023 as a date for hearing on certified assessment corrections reflecting the addition of omitted property to the tax rolls or increased value on property. Is there a motion to approve A and B? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Morgan. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next are citizen comments. This is the Board of Equalization. Is there anyone in the chamber or on Zoom wishing to speak to the Board of Equalization about an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we do have resolutions D through I. We do not have need for an executive session. Is there a motion? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Morgan. Any questions or comments? Did you have an item you wanted to speak on?
Larry Storr, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha 68132. I think I'm opposed to both, E, F, and G. And the reason is, I don't know, maybe E and F are repeats of last week. If not, that's an awful lot of more pieces of property owned by the city, I guess, sold to Habitat for Humanity. And the question as to who starts off paying property taxes on the new values is still kind of up in the air based on last week's answers. I'd like to get clarified, will Habitat for Humanity themselves pay any property taxes on these properties? Or is that the new owner that they maybe sell to? That is what the citizens would like to know and get clarified. And then on item G, now, I just want to say on this that what I'm going to say is not racist. There are 2 books by my chair there about religious beliefs. Our nation was founded on Christian principles. We don't recognize specific denominations, but we are founded on Christian principles. Now, there needs to be a clarification of Islam versus Christianity. Hopefully a debate in these chambers so that myself or people on the other side will not get accused of being racist or of hate speech, because those are topics that are going on across the nation. I won't go into it any deeper than that, but those 2 books explain the differences. And since we are still a republic, I think, and we are still based on Christian principles, I don't believe we should be giving tax exemptions to an Islamic center on Saddle Creek Road. The first attempt at that was maybe unclear because they had some parts of the complex that were rental property. They're trying to clarify that now with you, and I'm not against that. But I question whether it should get tax exemption at all. And that's what needs to be discussed. Why? What makes it a taxpayer funded, so to speak, religious center when it's not necessarily based on Christianity? So maybe rethink the exemption or have it discussed. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak on any of these items?
Mike Goodwillie, Douglas County Assessor Register of Deeds Office. On the first resolutions, D and F, these are additional parcels. Okay, we're cleaning this up before billing. Whomever gets the bill, I mean, the bill will go out in December. If Habitat owns the property in December, they'll get the bill. If in the meantime they sell it to somebody, that person will get the bill. But the point of the matter is these properties will be taxable. Somebody will get the bill. The taxes follow the property. Now, as for Resolution G, state law talks about exemptions for religious, charitable, educational, or cemetery organizations. I don't know what books Mr. Storer has, but I think worldwide it is not unreasonable to say that Islam is a world-recognized religion. We don't have the luxury of saying we're only going to exempt the religious facilities for the religions we like. So if Mr. Storer wants to take his xenophobia out for a walk, that's okay. This is America. He can take his xenophobia out for a walk. But we are not in the business, nor are we charged with deciding which religions are proper and which religions are orthodox and which religions are not. In this scenario, some portions of the building are used for worship. There are several other portions that are used for non-religious activities. I think there's a small store, and I think they release out some space to an accountant or something at one time. And those portions of the facility are taxable. State law talks about partial exemptions, where there are segregable portions of the building that are used for one purpose and other portions of a building are used for another. And so that's what this partial exemption reflects. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. No other lights? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
We will now reconvene for the Board of Commissioners. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Boyle. Commissioner Kavanaugh. Commissioner Friend.
Here.
Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Morgan. Commissioner Rogers. Madam Chair.
Present. Item A, approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held Tuesday, September 26, 2023. And item B, approval of claims submitted for payment process through Tuesday, October 10th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve A and B? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Morgan. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next is our consent agenda, items A through G. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Morgan. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
We will go down to citizen comments. Is there anyone in the chamber wishing to speak to the Board of Commissioners about an item not on the agenda?
Ken Anderson, Irvington. You've had folks come to these microphones and share concerns about election fraud, and I want to propose maybe a solution that is kind of vaporware right now. It doesn't exist, but to contract out recounts because ES&S runs the machines right now for the standard counts for the elections, and if you could just take the recounts and contract those out to a different company for comparison, and there's an implied in fact contract that exists every time a voter submits their completed ballot to election officials, implied in fact contract, and your due diligence is that you be honest and count those votes as accurately as you can. Voters aren't so much interested in the speed. I mean, the news media, sure, they want the ballots counted speedily, but voters want them counted accurately. More than anything else, they want them counted accurately. And I've shared with you before that there's been recounts where even the ES&S equipment doesn't count them the same on the recounts as they did in the initial counts. So their equipment's not perfect. It can be, but it isn't. And then they always acquiesce to hand counts. And I'm speaking of Scott County, Iowa, for example, where the first recount was done by ES&S machine. That was not acceptable because it flipped the race from the initial count. First recount flipped the race by ES&S machine, and the candidate that lost on that recount then had a hand count. I'm sorry for that. I can't reach it.
Okay, I didn't know where it was coming from.
I'm sorry. So I apologize for that.
Okay.
But ES&S didn't challenge the hand count. And isn't there something suspicious about that? Them being such a big company, and they acquiesce to the accuracy of hand counts rather than saying, now wait a minute, let's look at our equipment, let's re-engineer, let's find out where the difference is. Accuracy is the utmost importance to the voters, not the speed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to the board about an item not on the agenda?
Excuse me. Larry Storr, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. I wear this shirt today for one reason. I brought this along with me for one reason. We are, we hope, still a republic, but that's in question. First of all, I want to say this is not Islamophobia. This is fact. I'm not an Islam, and I resent that. He needs to do his study. I do not worship Islamic acts, and neither do Christians. Enough on that. The elections. The people are really getting ready to take back their republic. There's one example. He's been a number of different counties across the state, as has Robert W.J. Border, presenting a lot of facts and requesting a lot of documents and being denied. And in a republic, citizens are being refused the right to have the elections and the irregularities in the elections discussed. And now national left-leaning organizations such as George Soros and many others are working against me and the citizens that have a right to know who voted and was it counted, and show me the records, the digital vote count records, and prove to us who was actually elected. I'm going to present some things that I will not read, but I'm going to present it to you that are not my words. They're from well-known people that have studied it. And one of the closest states that has a controversy is the state of South Dakota. You need to have your lawyers, your advisors, look at these and then schedule a debate that we have requested numerous times, where citizens, we the people, are the presenters, and we get to talk twice, not the Douglas County Attorney, the Douglas County Election Commissioner, the Secretary of State, and the Nebraska Attorney General. They might be on our sides except for the Secretary of State, but they are against we the citizens because they are denying our requests. And so is this board, for a joint meeting where this can be openly discussed, where the tables are turned and we're the questioners and you're the opponents. Two very important things needs to be considered before you before you schedule that. This has also been requested through the Secretary of State and the Attorney General. And no answers from them yet either. And that's how the Republic got lost. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak to the board about an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we will move to public hearings. The first public hearing, Todd Fitzer, the Douglas County Engineer, requests the following. Open the public hearing on Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023 for the vacation of a portion of Rainwood Road located west of 84th Street to its western terminus to public comments, with action to be taken Tuesday, October 17th. So with that, good morning.
Good morning, members of the board. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. I just thought it would be worth a little time to present some of the history on this really quick, just to go through it so that everybody understands kind of how we got here today and why we're here. Todd Fitzer, Douglas County Engineer, 15505 West Maple Road. Just a quick timeline. Oh, okay, thank you. Just a quick timeline. This kind of came before you for discussion starting back in August of 22. This parcel is actually outside the city limits, but within their zoning jurisdiction. So it's in Douglas County, but the city has zoning jurisdiction out here. So on September of 22, your board authorized Douglas County Engineer's Office to look into this, which we have since done, worked with the City Planning and Public Works Department on this vacation request. The City Public Works and Planning Department approved that on July of this year. They recommended going forward with the vacation, and we then followed that recommendation and finished our review and are recommending the same to you today. There is an OPPD easement that will need to be maintained, and we'll have to go out and remove some signs and do some things like that, but nothing major that's going to change anything for anybody out here. We've come up with a price based on a Nebraska appraisal that'll be recommended to you today. So I thought I would just, if you want to look at your screens, that's an example of the parcel there. The red obviously is what's shown there. So it's west of 84th Street, and I'm going to put a little bit closer picture up here so you can get a more detailed picture of what we're talking about. So get that visual in your head, and then we've taken a few pictures. This has been closed for a number of years now, so it's not impacting the way people travel out here. There's no implications thereof, but just to kind of show you, if you haven't been out and looked at that, I mean, that's what it looks like today with the road closed and barricade signs as we've been kind of working our way toward this final decision. I just kind of cycling through some of these pictures again to give those viewing maybe at home and this board an idea of what this looks like from the windshield. And I have brought the Douglas County Engineer historian with me in the form of Mr. Dan Kudlek, who is back here. So if you have any questions or anything that we can further clarify, that's why we're here today, and we appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Was there anyone else wishing to speak during the presentation, and then we'll open it up for comment?
Good morning, members of the board. Tim Talkin, Fraser Stryker Law Firm, 409 South 17th Street. I'm appearing on behalf of the petitioners, Centennial Farms and Wind River. So Centennial Farms owns the parcel to the north. Wind River owns the parcels to the south that abut the road. To give you a little bit more background, that at least from our perspective, from how this came to be, keep in mind that to the west of this is Lake Cunningham. So Lake Cunningham was significantly renovated from 2018 to 2021, using about $26 million in private philanthropic funds. During that process, the Lake Cunningham Development Trust was created, which Brooke Bench is here to he'll testify later, and the part of the process of renovating the park was to limit access points from 8 down, I think, to 5. And one of the access points that was closed was this section here. There was a earthen berm built across it. There was landscaping put across it. This is no longer an access point. And then there was a road internal to the park that was torn out. The road was frankly a source of some mischief. There was some bad acts going on. That has now been replaced by a youth camp. And Brooke will testify. I mean, we had Juvenile Justice Awareness Month recognition earlier. We're trying to work on the front end on that, and we want to have a safe environment. So when the park was renovated in 2021, this access was closed. So this is essentially now a dead-end road. It's really a private road that only serves Wind River and Centennial Farms. The county engineer approached us about a year ago and said, hey, would you be willing to sponsor a petition to vacate? Last August, we held a neighborhood meeting. So we invited all the folks who live on North 84th Street and East and Rainwood Road, explained what the process was of that we would be basically purchasing the road and making it a private drive. Fortunately, it's in your packet. We received the signatures of 28 of our neighbors who are in support of this. We needed 10 to file the petition. We filed the petition, as Mr. Fitzer explained. It then gets kicked over to the city council, and the city planning board both unanimously approved it, so now we are back. To give you a sense of what Lake Cunningham looks like, and Brooke will testify more, this is the map that they put out. They don't even show Rainwood Road anymore, so this is not going to be an access point. There are 5 access points currently, one of which is just east on Rainwood Road, which is access point 4. That leads you to the campgrounds. There are 2 access points on State Street. There's one here on access 3 here on North 96th. And Brooke will talk about another one where potentially there'll be some pickleball courts coming. And then there is a design, hopefully this fall, that we will have a new access point on the northeast side of the lake. So one of the issues that we're having, Mr. Fitzer showed you some photos. Clearly, this is a closed road. It's a dead-end road. People aren't supposed to be driving on it. It's very clear. It's very well marked. But what we're seeing is that folks are still ignoring that. So I took Councilwoman Johnson out for a tour before the city council vote, and just so happened I took this picture. Somebody has gone past all the barricades, has parked in front of the Jersey barrier, and is walking down past the Jersey barriers. As you get closer to the berm, I mean, it's pretty clear. Park closed to all persons and vehicles 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Violators will be prosecuted. This is not an approved access point. So that's pretty well displayed there. So you're going past 2 Jersey barriers. But what we're finding is that people are still accessing the park from here. And so this is one of the fences that's been kind of trampled down, a wire fence. Now, parking here in the middle of the day is one issue, but this is an unlit area. It's difficult to patrol because it's a dead end. So obviously we don't want, who knows what's going on at night, I guess is my point. It's a remote area. So we want to really control access. So by vacating this road, that allows us essentially to take down the ugly barricades and perhaps build a more aesthetically pleasing gate there that pushes things out to the east, controls access a little bit better. As Todd said, we will be paying for this, so this is relieving the taxpayers of the burden of maintaining what is essentially a private road. We'll take over the snow removal, take over the liability, and control the access, and there obviously shouldn't be any reason for the Douglas County Sheriff to have to patrol this area any further. So we urge your support, and I'm here for any questions, and Mr. Bench can explain kind of how this affects the park.
Okay. Mr. Bench?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Brooke Bench. I'm the Executive Director with the Lake Cunningham Development Trust. We have seen a tremendous change since that road has been closed. I was the Parks Director and oversaw Lake Cunningham for years. I worked for the city for 25 years. And so I'm very familiar with the property, and I actually worked on this project before I came over to Lake Cunningham Trust. And not knowing that I was going to work for the Lake Cunningham Trust, but seeing that when you have a park like Cunningham, like Lake Zorinsky, like Standing Bear, that has so many entrances and so many secluded entrances, at one time Lake Cunningham had 8. And this one was a very difficult one for our maintenance staff to maintain. A lot of illegal things happened back there. And in the redo of this whole property when we started 5-6 years ago, this was something that we really looked at, was how do we make this park to where we can control it, to where we can have a safe environment for all the patrons of Omaha to be able to attend, to go to, and by alleviating some of these entrances is one way that we did that. We have 4 entrances. Like Tim said, we have entrances, and we're working on another one off 96. That'd be a trailhead parking lot that would be right off the interstate to have access to the north side. But we felt during the renovation, the way that the trail aligns, many of the things that we did during the renovation, this parking lot just didn't align with that. And when you look at where the trail is in the park, to be able to control it, to be able to have it safe, this is one of the entrances that we removed. And it's been probably, it hasn't been open for over 5 years now. So it has been closed during the whole renovation. We feel that with it closed, it has just made that whole area more controllable for us, and has made it to where we actually have a youth day camp that is back in that area. We've planted back pollinators, and we have an area now that we've let go to nature. The park's 1,500 acres, so we have a lot of room, and it has just been a lot of, from this entrance and then opening up the new entrance, I really don't think that we really haven't had anybody complain. I think it's kind of, it's a moot point, and it would be nice just for the Wind River, so we don't have the people parking up at the end of the street. That would go away, and I think it would just end up being a great thing for the city. And I'm here for any other questions, if anybody has any questions about the lake or anything that we've done.
All right. With that, Commissioner Kavanaugh?
Thank you. And Todd, maybe this is something you can help us with. So we are looking at vacation of this road. Does that vacation include giving up the public right-of-way that underlines the road?
It does, other than the OPPD access to maintain that for maintenance. But yeah, we would no longer maintain or be part of that property.
And the appraisal process, could you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I'm not a registered appraiser, but I can tell you what I understand about it, and it was done through. Let me read it here. It was done through Nebraska. Fair market value of the street right-of-way to be vacated contains 3.4 acres, more or less. A certified general appraiser, the state of Nebraska, has determined the fee simple market value of the street right-of-way, and so that's how it was done. There are very strict laws and rules about vacating public ground, and those were followed in this case.
Right. So there was one appraised.
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. And what was their conclusion as to the value of this property?
The total value was $76,400, and that's based on an acre price of $22,500 per acre. Generally, that is achieved by looking at property values in the immediate vicinity.
So, in exchange for $76,400 from, who would actually pay that?
Brooke could probably talk specifically to the name, but it's referenced as Centennial Farms LLC in Wind River.
Centennial
correct?
Farms, I think, would be the ultimate purchaser.
Mr. Talkin, I want to thank you for the information that you sent me. That was very helpful. So Centennial Farms, a single unit, then would become the deed owner of this property?
Yes.
Okay. And that Centennial Farms is a family?
No, so Centennial Farms is wholly owned by the Suzanne and Walter Scott Foundation.
I'm sorry.
It's a single asset. It owns the land. The sole member is the Suzanne and Walter Scott Foundation.
Okay, I'm having difficulty just understanding what that means. So I'm just a poor country lawyer here. Help me out.
Centennial Farms is a limited liability company. It's the farming operations of the Suzanne and Walter Scott Foundation. So it's a wholly owned subsidiary, if you will, of the Scott Foundation.
Of the Scott Foundation?
Suzanne and Walter Scott Foundation.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? during the public hearing? Okay, I see none. We will be taking action October 17th on this item. Do close it? So I will close the public hearing, and then we'll have the agenda item back on our agenda October 17th to approve. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, thanks for being here, guys. Next is a public hearing regarding the proposed approval of golf ordinance to allow golf cars to be driven within Sanitary and Improvement District 453 West Shores in Douglas County. And this is one of those that I think, Teresa, we have to have a motion to waive the 3 hearings, is that correct? And then we come back to close the public hearing and then approve if so desired? Okay. So with that, do we have a motion to waive the 3 public hearings?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Friend. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
And now I will close the public hearing. What is the will of the board?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Friend. Any further questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
The next public hearing is a public hearing for a Class D liquor license, beer, wine, distilled spirits, off sale only for a come and go at 18908 Q Street. Manager application, Jonathan Mileham, 6819 Giles Road, Papillion, Nebraska. It has also been brought to my attention that they had not submitted its liquor license notification list. The question was, do we know if there are any properties that needed to be alerted to this? And so we could do one of 2 things. We could hold this over till we get an answer from the applicant, or we can close the public hearing and approve contingent upon the information being submitted to the board. So with that, this is the public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this agenda item? Good morning.
Good morning.
Jason Johnson, 523 Forest Drive, Council Bluffs, Iowa. I'm representing Come and Go, though. I took over for John Mileham, so I'm new district supervisor. So I had received email communication from our licensing department on the 28th, and it said that we had to notify people within 10 days. So I knew that I'd already missed that deadline, so that's why I'm here today speaking to you guys. I think the delay in the email communication, we're in the middle of a purchase agreement. We're being bought out by another gas station, so that's Maverick is the name of the company ultimately, but I think that was the hang up in the delay. So anything we can do to give us time to get this completed would be fantastic and greatly appreciated.
So if we delayed this until October 17th, would that give you enough time, or do you want to just longer than that?
Yeah, I mean, I can do it by the 7th. At the end of the month would be great.
Okay.
But and I was looking last night on Google about the 500 feet. I think there might be one business and a few houses that's in that.
That's
I don't
what I
know
was
how
trying
that's
to remember,
determined, but
yeah.
it's not many.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So should we go till October 31st? Would
that would be
sufficient?
fantastic.
Okay.
Yes, just so I can go through my proper departments as well.
Okay. So this is the public hearing. I would ask the attorney, do I just hold this open, or do we set another public hearing for October 31st?
Teresa, your county attorney's office. I think you could do either way. But if you close it, you only have to do the notice again.
So we'll just hold this open until October 31st. We'll have the public hearing will still be open. We'll take any further comments, and then that day we can still close it and take action if the board desires.
Perfect, and I can
Okay.
get the paperwork in 10 days before that.
Okay.
So, awesome, thank you.
All right, thank you. So with that, do we have a motion to extend this public hearing until October 31st? Motion by Commissioner Morgan, second by Commissioner Rogers.
Madam Chair, sorry, I just heard from Ellen Sexer. The NLCC needs a decision by the 23rd, so we're going to have this on the 17th.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I know she said the 23rd, but obviously we don't meet until the 24th, so we'd have to have it on the 17th.
Okay, all right.
My
Come
only
on
hang-up
back
would
to
be-
the podium.
I mean, I have no problem with that other than the 10 days obviously gets a little tight then, but I mean, I can probably still make that work. Did you clarify how that 500 feet is determined? I mean, do I go out there and just ballpark it? How does that?
Dan Esch, Douglas County Clerk.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think basically sometimes people hire and you don't need to do this, but sometimes people hire like an abstractor that like tells them, hey, here's who's within 500 feet of you.
Yeah.
But when I looked at the address on the assessor's website, I mean, I would think basically anybody that's just
get a compass
yeah,
out.
I mean, I would
Okay.
say just your best guess as to who
Okay.
would be within 500 feet would be suffice. I think that's how a lot of people do it, honestly. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
There's not much out there to send the notice to, so I
Right,
don't think
right.
you're gonna have.
Yeah, no
an
worries.
issue with that.
We'll get it taken care of and get it submitted
Okay.
by the 17th, so
All
thank you.
right, so
Yep.
we'll change that date till
Yep.
October 17th. Okay.
And so are we closing the public hearing, then
No.
making this motion? Or we're just keeping the public
We're
hearing
keeping
open?
the public hearing open until October 17th.
All right.
Okay, please vote.
Well, sorry, Madam Chair, but Teresa, since the public hearing's open, can we actually vote or no?
Or do we just
Just-
say? I guess I never thought of that.
That's a great question. So I don't think you need to if you're just going to leave it open.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll see you back October 17th. How about that? All right. With that, we'll move to our committees. The first is the budget report as presented. No other, till human resources. We have the weekly personnel report from civil service as presented. No legislative items. We do have need for executive session. Remind me again.
Well, I know we have personnel. We don't have any collective bargaining. Do you have any litigation?
No litigation, but if I may, let's add contract negotiation.
Okay. Is there a motion to go into executive session for personnel and litigation?
No, contract.
Contract litigation, contract.
No,
Contract negotiation.
Contract negotiations. All right. Motion by Commissioner Morgan, second by Commissioner Rogers. And as you're voting, please note that the Douglas County Board of Commissioners will not meet Tuesday, October 10th. The next scheduled meeting is October 17th. So with that, please vote or call the vote. And just as also a reminder, there's a Human Resources Committee meeting Tuesday today at 2 o'clock in room 903. And don't forget about the celebration at noon for the Jack.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay.
Record.
Motion by Commissioner Rogers, reconvene and adjourn. Second by Commissioner Garcia. Motion passes 7-0. We're adjourned at 10:25 a.m.